Are you intimidated to make a trench coat, winter coat, or fall coat? Well, guess what? I'm gonna give you 20 not so intimidating patterns that are trench coat, fall, or winter coats. So if that's some content you would like to see, please continue to watch. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Rochelle from Rochelle.Handmade.Designs. In this video, I'm gonna be sharing with you guys 20 not so intimidating trench coat, fall coat, or a winter coat pattern, okay? Listen, I know coat scares you. I know, okay? You don't have to tell me. So I'm gonna be giving you guys 20 patterns, okay? They're all very easy to sew and rated as easy to sew, okay? So I left out those patterns that are super intimidating because they're advanced to sew pattern, all right? I think a few of these may be average to sew, but they're not intimidating, okay? So rest assured that they're not intimidating, all right? Now, if you are new to the channel, welcome. Hello, Ciao, Guten, Aloha, Hola, Konnichiwa, Gwaan, Sabonani, Shalom, Bonjour, Tarve. If you're returning, you guys know what to do. Quick snack, something to drink, beverage of choice. Grab a notebook so you go ahead and take down these patterns. So without further ado, to keep this video short, sweet, give you all the deets and the news that you can use on this video, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? All right, so I'm gonna run these patterns down to you on patterns that are super easy and not so freaking intimidating, okay? All you have to do is take a lot of breathers, drink some water, kombucha, tea, whatever it is you want, and get you a snack, put on some music, put on TV, put on Netflix, whatever you want to put on, and just get to sewing. And here's a little trick. Try to sew for 30 to 1 hour at a time, then take a break. All right, let's get into the first pattern being Butterick. Y'all, let's try this again. Let's get into the first pattern, Burda 5992. And Burda 5992 is a double-breasted jacket and coat pattern. It has patch pockets. It would be one of the patterns that you could use as a trench coat. You could throw it on, you could wear it with some jeans, you could just put a little tank top underneath it. This would be a good pattern. This pattern is actually an average to sew pattern. It's not an easy to sew, but it's an average to sew. But guess what? I feel like you could tackle this pattern with no issues. Now, we all know Burda patterns want you to have a little bit of skills, okay? I get that, but here's the thing. Take your time, okay? You'll be good, all right? Let's go ahead and get into the next pattern, being a Butterick pattern. And this pattern is one of my favorite patterns. I have not sewn it yet, but this been on the list since it released, okay? And this is Butterick 6385. Now this pattern right here is a Mrs. Funnel Neck Peter Pan or pointed collar coat, all right? It's basically a fitted coat that have princess seams, okay? It has a back yoke, front shoulder seaming, it has two-piece sleeves, collar, and pocket variations for this coat. Now, what I'm particularly interested in, basically what I'm interested in this coat is basically the pointed collar. Like, let's just be real. That's what I am interested in for this coat. It is an average to sew pattern, but don't be discouraged. Like I said, take your time and you will be fine. All right? Take your time, fine as wine, and guess what? You will be fine. All right? Let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. Next pattern, Butterick 6720. Everyone know that I have a complete sew along on the channel for this pattern, Butterick 6720. And when I say this pattern is so good, so good. I sewed this pattern earlier this year when I did my red and pink board. And I sewed this pattern and used a flamingo fabric that was in my stash from Michael Levine, downtown LA. I purchased that fabric from when I went to the last Mimi G conference, her 6th annual conference, and I believe it was like 2016, 2017. I just held on to it for that freaking long and decided to finally use it. I made the jacket in pink. I'll put it up here so you're able to see it. It's a complete sew along for that. So if you have this pattern and have not even thought about sewing it, guess what? Go to that video, watch the complete video, and sew this pattern up, all right? You're welcome. Now this pattern is also an average to sew pattern, but you guys know with all of my sew along, I walk you through every step of the way. So you're not missing a thing, all right? So let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. That pattern was Butterick 6720. Next pattern, this pattern is Butterick 6917. And this one is just a missus coat. It's like a button front wrap coat with a stand collar, pleats on the collar. It has the side pockets, back darts, and a center back and waist seam. Now, one thing about this coat is I like the fact that it is kind of like a wrap coat. I like the pleats on the shoulders. You can add a belt to snitch in that waist, okay? That's what I would be doing. And if you're smart, you'll use Butterick 6720 to form that belt. And what I would do is Anita from Anita by Design, she has a really cool video on how she creates her belt, makes it thick to put around dresses and things like that, right? So I would definitely use the belt from 6720, Butterick 6720, and make it a little bit longer, create your own belt and stitch in that waist, all right? You can snatch in that waist, all right? So let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. The next pattern being a KnowMe pattern. And this one is Nikki from Beauty Jador. And this one is 2001. Now, this pattern, when it came out, I was just like, yes, I need to sew it up. But then it hit me. Rochelle, when are you going to sew this pattern up? Because you had a pattern, but it doesn't get that freaking hot here, which is another reason why a trench coat is definitely what I want to do. A fall winter coat, maybe one. Okay, I definitely want to make another trench coat and possibly one fall winter coat. All right, coming up. All right, so, but this is like an oversized line coat that Nikki created. It has belt, it has sleeve bands, wide lapel, notch collar. It also features like side seam pockets and things of that nature. So I was really drawn to this pattern when it first came out, but once again, it's KnowMe 2001. Next pattern that I'm going to suggest, which is another Nikki from Beauty Jador's pattern. It is 2070, KnowMe 2070, which happens to be a trench coat. And one thing about this one is she has like the adult sides and like a children or preteen sides as well. It has like the white collar, it has welt pockets and things like that. So I do like the fact that she did this. Now, this one is definitely an average sew pattern. She walked you through every step of the way. She has a complete sew along for it for both patterns, 2001 as well as 2070. One thing I will say is take your time with this because it does have a lot of pattern pieces. So do not get discouraged about the number of pattern pieces because with mostly any coat that you make and you want it to be like a winter coat, a fall coat, or even a trench coat, listen, don't think of the pattern pieces, just think of completing the garment, okay? You're welcome. All right, let's go ahead and get into the next pattern, which is Brittany J. Jones herself. And she made that trench coat, okay? And it's 2089. And Miss Brittany J. Jones, her trench coat is more of like a crop style trench coat jacket situation. It has the front button closure, it has the collar, it has the shoulder tabs. It features that, you know, white belt with the grommet and all that stuff. You know, it has the buckle belt, all that good stuff. And when she dropped this pattern, I was just like, ooh, okay, I like this. So this trench coat is definitely a vibe and one that you may want to have, all right? Let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. So the next pattern is one of the patterns that dropped with New Look. Now, before you be like, those New Look patterns was fresh. Listen, your girl already know. New Look Fall 2024 patterns missed the mark completely, okay? Most of them, or I should say all of them, really, were repeat patterns. And if you did not pick them up the first time when they first dropped, you could definitely get it on the low because everyone knows that New Look Patterns is on sale right now for $2.99 as of the recording of this video. But I would definitely say with Vogue pattern, this is Vogue 9367. If you have that pattern, this pattern is New Look 6788. I'm gonna put them both side by side so you're able to see that. But the original pattern is Vogue 9367. So they remade it, recreated it, whatever you want to say, duplicated it. New Look 6788. So one thing that I like about this pattern is it has different length variations. You can make this pattern using either or the pattern, you know, either one of the patterns, whether it's the Vogue or the New Look pattern. But I felt like this one is definitely a pattern that you want to sew up as a trench coat. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. The next pattern has been on my list since it's dropped. Okay, my list is just growing. But this is McCall's 8438 and 8439 for my plus ladies. Okay, and this is basically a high collar coat and vest. It have the drop shoulder, side panels, pockets, and a belt. Now you guys know this pattern is very similar to the pattern that I have already sewed up and did a complete sew along for, which is New Look 6742. There is a complete sew along for that one. So even though I want to sew this pattern, I don't know if I'm going to get to it anytime soon, maybe this year, maybe next year. I may think about it or something. But this one is just basically like a repeat pattern of that pattern that I already sewed. So, I mean, I like this pattern. I might, you know, decide to do it, but I don't know just yet. All right, but let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. Next pattern is Vogue 1837, and this pattern is a lined double-breasted fit and flare coat. It's semi-fitted at the bust and have collar with collar bands, princess seams. It have raglan sleeves, side seam pockets, and then it also have different length variations. Now, this one would be a really good fall in transitioning into winter coat. Depending on the fabric that you use, you could definitely get this coat in your wardrobe this fall or winter season. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the next one. Next pattern is 1971, and this is a missus coat in 5 different lengths. So this coat right here is a line coat. It's fitted. It has the double-breasted button or snap closure, depending on which one you want to do. It has princess seams and, you know, optional shoulder pads for sure. So you could do the contrast on the upper collar. You could definitely do like the contrast fake fur on the upper collar. You could do so many different things with this pattern. But once again, it's Vogue 1971. Next pattern. Next pattern is one of the patterns that I keep pulling it out every fall season, but then I don't make it. And it goes back in a Connex box. So yeah, that's the life that we live here, okay? But we're not talking about that. Let's get back to it. It's Vogue 8884. And this one is a double-breasted trench coat. This Vogue pattern is an average to sew pattern as well. It's semi-fitted. One thing I like about this pattern is it's partially interfaced. So the entire piece is not even interfaced, all right? This pattern is also lined. So it's a lined trench coat, double-breasted. It has collar band, shoulder pads, yoke, and also a 2-piece sleeve. Now, another thing that I like about this pattern, it has top stitching. So it gives a different detail of this pattern, all right? But once again, it's Vogue 8884. Moving over to the next pattern. Next pattern is Simplicity 8554. You guys know, a trench coat, all right? And this one is a actual easy to sew trench coat. I'm not sure who did the sew along for it, but there is a sew along on YouTube for this pattern. You just have to type in Simplicity 8544 in order to be taken to that video. But once again, it's an easy to sew pattern, trench coat, Simplicity 8554. Moving over to the next pattern. Next pattern is one of the patterns a few years ago was part of Sew Your View. And this is Simplicity 8796. My girl, Monica from That's So Monica, she sewed this pattern, look fabulous in it, okay? So I think this would be a really good pattern to do, you know, in the fall, in the winter, making it some plaid, and you're good to go. It'll actually be good if you you know, sew this up in plaid, put on some booties or even some long, you know, knee high, thigh high, you know what I'm saying, you get it, okay? Some boots and good to go, all right? And then take some pictures next to the leaves that's falling, all right? Well, it's not falling here, but you get my drift, right? So let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. Next pattern is Simplicity 8797. And this pattern right here, I love that huge collar, okay? So this is a Mrs. Loose Fitted line collar. It have the classic lapel and easy fit. It is an average toe pattern, but one thing that I like about this coat is a comfortable oversized coat. So you don't have to try to fit it to your body. It's supposed to be oversized. So if you have like a sweater or something that's oversized, baggy, you can put this coat over it, all right? So once again, this pattern is Simplicity 8797. Let's move over to the next pattern. Next pattern is an easy throw on. You could call it a pocket, you could call it an anorak jacket, and it's Mimi G and Norris pattern, Simplicity 9052. Now, one thing about this jacket is it can take you out with so many pattern pieces, but one thing I will definitely say about this pattern is the Corny Rainbow did this pattern in a pink when it first came out, and she looks fabulous in it. And one thing I will say is I've been having fabric in my stash for a very long time. I just still have not sewn this pattern up. And guess what? We need to change that because I am currently doing the Whole 30 challenge where I am only using fabric in my stash until I sew 30 yards of fabric. Then I could buy some fabric, but I don't see what's the point because I want to use more fabric in my stash. All right, I'll go ahead and put it up here so you're able to see it. And also drop it in the description box below as well to the link to that video. So if you're interested in that video, it's in the description box below. Let's get back to it. So this one is basically Mimi G's pattern. You could do it. They have it in the misses. The men, you can do it in the men, just size it up a little bit, or you could do it in like a teen jacket as well. So it's like an unlined combat or pocket anorak. You could call it either one jacket that have the front separating zipper. It have like the button placket for sure. It have elastic at the waist, which is really cool to see that at the waist. But this is Simplicity 9052. It's not easy to sew, but there is a complete sew along on Mimi G's channel for this pattern. All right, once again, it's Simplicity 9052. Let's move over to the next pattern. Next pattern, still keeping it on Mimi G just a little bit here, okay? The pattern number is Simplicity 9824, which is a pattern that came out, I believe it was last year or right at the beginning of the year for the winter patterns of 2023. I believe this pattern came out, 9824. Now this is a relaxed fit, oversized coat. It have the drop shoulder, the shaped lapel. It comes in like a 7/8 sleeve with band at the hem. And then you also have patch pockets with the flap and button closure. Now I know Norris have done this. I know not Brittany, but Mimi G have done this coat several times. And even though a lot of you are put off because of the number of pattern pieces for coats, which is why you don't sew coats. But my thing is this. If you space out the number of pattern pieces you're going to sew, don't let the pattern pieces scare you because we're talking about not so intimidating trench coats, fall coats, and winter coats. So don't let none of those pattern pieces scare you, okay? You just push past it. Let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. Next pattern, average to sew pattern, it just dropped with Simplicity. It's 3008. Now this pattern is a fully lined faux fur coat. It has shawl collars, kissing front, and then side seam pockets and a back vent. Now, one thing that I like about this pattern is what? No notions, okay? Yep, I said it, no notions. All right, but another thing I like about this one is it's just open in the front. So if you have like a nice LBD, which stands for little black dress, you could definitely put on that little black dress and then throw this coat on. You can make a belt to, you know, keep it closed, but you don't have to. But yes, that's one thing that I like about this pattern. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. The next pattern is a cape. And of course, it's a new pattern. It's Simplicity 3033. And the reason why I say that this cape is a good one that you could do that's not so intimidating is because it has like a front zipper opening. It has the patch pocket. It has the flaps, the snap closures. It has all of those things. But also you could use this as I wouldn't say use it as a top, but you could definitely use this one and not have to actually throw on a jacket real quick. You could just put it on. I like the fact that it has a hood, okay? I like things with hood, especially when it's raining down here in Florida, all right? But once again, this pattern is 3033. Let's go ahead and move over to the last pattern. So the last pattern is 3034, which is a lined coat that have the scarf. It have drop shoulder, front dart shaping. It have the front button closure, the pack pockets, the top stitching. It has all of those things. Also have, you know, length variations for this. You can make it short, you can make it long. One thing that I like about this pattern is it has the scarf to keep your neck warm, okay? So I do like that about this pattern. I did mention this during the drop as well. It is similar to another pattern, which I think that pattern is Simplicity 9685, 9686 if you are on the plus side. So I do like the fact that this pattern does come with a scarf as well. Now, is it detachable? You can make it that way if you want to. All right. Well, those are all 20 patterns that are not so intimidating trench coat, fall coats, or winter coats that you could sew up this fall into the winter time. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. And if this video was educational, inspiring, encouraging, and fun, stay tuned for my next video where I'm going to be sharing with you how to put a effortless and lazy fall capsule wardrobe together using 12 pieces. So stay tuned for that for when it's uploaded. Until next time, keep sewing.
If they throw me into a cell, I know wife she paying the bill. Cause I can afford to be quiet. My city is dying and children are crying. Be alert, not devour. The enemy's prowling you just like a lion. But we got the keys, I promise you. Hold on to the peace inside of you. No, I'm not alone.